My name is Selam. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am a third year biology major and I work for the African student programs at UCR. I am also joined with Michael and Katrina. If y'all can introduce yourselves, please. Hey, Katrina.
Hi, my name is Katrina. I am a fourth year here at UC Riverside, and I'm also a transfer student. I transferred from Orange County. And then I also am an ethnic studies major. So I'll be answering your questions in the chat, really. Any questions you have about UC Riverside or our admissions process.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael Pastor. I'm a double major in sociology and education. I work for a community engagement and outreach unit along with Katrina. We're glad to be here today and present with you.
All right, so let's get started. We're going to talk about a little bit of history about Asp, and I'm also going to talk about little facts about the school as well. So first, we're going to meet our team. So this is our pro staff, our professional staff, including our Director of African Student Programs, Dr. Jamal Myrick, Ms. Stephanie Servin, who is our Administrative Assistant, Ms. Sheree Hughes, and Ms. Rhiannon Lil-Sorowski, who are both our program coordinators. Our job is to make sure that the programs that you get fit our goals in regards to professional and personal development, personal wellness, connecting with the community, and just overall self-awareness. And here is our student staff team. There's me. Now the purpose of the student staff is to connect with the student body to make sure that you are getting the absolute resources that you need. We have our communications and social media specialist, which is Anaya and Yasmin. I am a programming specialist. Ajuma is an outreach and retention, and that's very important because these are the people who come to events like these to get your attention, grab your attention, and bring you back home to us. And then we also have our Diversity Council representative, Darielle. So a little bit of history about our school and African student programs. So UCR was founded in 1954. We are, I think, we're the second youngest university next to Merced. And an estimated 60 students led by Charles Jenkins founded the Black Student Union at UCR, and soon after in 1969, the group helped originate our Black Studies Department, which would soon be known as the Black House, but it was dissolved into a category of interdisciplinary study. Now, the newly formed BSU remains active, and those involved in Black studies remain committed to giving value to the Black student experience. And through the 70s, many old Highlander articles referenced, They referenced organizations as Black Students United or Black Student Activities, and this was known as the Black Studies Department, and again, the Black House. It was a natural gathering space for students, like a little hub, a little center to have fun, to communicate, to relax, a safe space. But it wasn't until the 70s when the house had mysteriously burned down. And we didn't take too kindly to that. So after that, we protested, aligned with the Black student movement, and out of that, our Black student programs was born, today known as African student programs. Now, our mission is to transform the lives of undergrad Black scholars, as well as scholars from the Pan-African diaspora, including Pan-Africa, Caribbean, Afro-Latinx, African continent, and cultivate a safe, inclusive community where their Black identity is affirmed. Through innovative programming, collaborations, and services, our Black scholars will be able to develop academically, culturally, and holistically on their journey to UCR and beyond. Now, our values include accountability, it's scholar-centered, psychological safety, scholarship, recognize and celebrate, excellence, collaborative partnerships, advocacy, holistic wellness, and inclusive and equity-minded. And things that you can do in our programs include study, because academics holds prime in our community. You can meet with other scholars, you can attend programs, and you can connect with many other students. So here's a couple of events that we have had that we would like to present to future scholars. We have Conversations Continued called The Shop, and this is for men to affirm their identity and holding each other accountable and just talking to each other. We have a Hold Your Crown Sis, which is essentially the Black woman cohort. We have a podcast that goes out every other Friday that centers around conversations that we would have in the community. And we also have fun things like a versus series, like a rap battle, not a rap battle, a DJ battle that occurs on IG Live. And this is just a number of things that we do. So if you want to get involved in our community, we have many cultural orgs, including Abyssinian Student Union, African Americans United in Science for science majors. We have fraternity and sorority life. So this is Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the Kappa Theta chapter. We have the Black Graduate Student Association. So we look out for not only undergraduates, but grad students as well. We have the Black Student Task Force. We have Black Student Union, which is like one of our central organizations. We have Blackout Arts. We have Brothers Leading African Americans Through Consciousness and Knowledge, also known as Black. We have Build to Rise in Domestic and Global Entrepreneurship for those who want to go into the business world. We have Caribbean Student Union. We have Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the Mukai chapter. Filmmakers of Color, Helping the Hyphy. For those of you who live in Northern California and the Bay Area. We have Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, the Eta Zeta chapter. We have the National Black Law Student Association for those who are interested in poli-sci and law. We have the National Pan-Hellenic Council, which accounts for all of the 9 Black Greek letter organizations. We have the National Society of Black Engineers, the Nigerian Student Association, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, the Zyro chapter. Sisters Affirming Our Socio and Cultural Identities, which is like the female version of Black. We have Umoja, which is great for transfer students. Many like community college should have an Umoja on their campus. Katrina can also tell you more about that. And here are our campus partners that we have as well. So in regards to CARE, which is our campus advocacy, resources, and education, this is an organization that we've partnered with. We've done things like the letter writing project and Denim Day awareness. And this is like for, this is CARE. And so our WELL promotes well-being and health and promotion department. So say like you need someone to talk to, like I love the WELL, like the WELL actually offers like COVID relief packages. They do groceries. They have, I've gone to those, speak to like a therapist over there. And like when we were all on campus, they actually had a little tea central so you can go and make your own tea. We have CAPS, which is Counseling and Psychological Services, where again, if you need to talk to somebody, if you need to talk to a therapist, if you feel like school's overwhelming or you're having, you're dealing with like obstacles in your own life, you can find someone to talk to. Here's our contact information. We have the ARC, which is the Academic Resource Center. This is great for tutoring. This allows you to keep your grades on track. They also have different workshops. So say like you have an essay that you need to write, but you don't really know how to start. This would be great for doing your own writing workshops and making sure your grades are at your best. Our Apsp is the Asian Pacific Students Program. So every like demographic has a cultural resource center kind of devoted to them. The Black scholars have African student programs. Asian Pacific student programs, those who fall into that scholars who fall into that category can visit this center and they would have events just like those for them. We have Chicano student programs for those who identify as Latinx and Chicano. This is a great program. This is a great safe space. This is a great center for scholars in this demographic. We have the LGBTQ Resource Center, which is great for another part of our community. We have our Native American student programs, our Middle Eastern Student Center, and our undocumented student programs. We also have the Women's Resource Center and the Student Disability Resource Center. Lastly, we have our financial aid office, which you can contact if you need help with your monies. These people, they do reply back in timely fashion. So if you need to email them in regards to help talking about your financial wellness, that is someone you can go to. And lastly, we have our Career Center where we will also we do interview workshops, we do resume workshops, and when we were on campus, they actually used to give you 3 articles of interview clothing or business casual clothing per year. And we also partnered with Macy's while everything was still going around, and like there would be a sale specifically centered for students to get business casual clothing. All right, and then we also have our Black Alumni chapter, which is great because again, this is bridging the gap between undergrad and graduate students. So with this being said, then it's like it continues on. So our motto is that, and last but not least, we have our Dean of Students who kind of like runs the whole thing and looks out for us. And our motto is that it takes a village to graduate a Black scholar. We don't know who said it, but we know that the importance of community and stressing the importance of community, then you can move forward on and prosper in your path. Any questions?
How has your student experience been during COVID, with everything, like with the living in the dorms or not, or how has that experience been?
Okay, so I live currently on an on-campus apartment, but when COVID first hit, I stayed at home. What I really appreciated is that despite everything, our student resource center has been in tip-top shape. They have been contacting with students. We will have a newsletter that comes out every week. We still throw programs. We make sure that our community is okay. We make sure that we are, you know, in a right mindset. And if not, then we always will, you know, direct you to said, like, okay, services, or we have office hours where you can come in and talk to students about how you're feeling.
And how is the admissions process taking place now due to COVID? What changes have been made for that?
Katrina, Michael, can you answer that?
For sure, for sure. I definitely have some screens I could try to share with you. Difference with now that we are on COVID-related admissions stuff, where we are testing free, and so that means that the SAT and the ACT aren't calculated into your admissions anymore. You don't have to submit them at all, and so it doesn't matter if you submit them. What will happen if you submit your testing scores is that you get like college course credit, like how AP classes are taken into consideration, but it's not the same as it was before when it was a part of the holistic review, because it's not a part of the holistic review anymore. And also, if you have any pass or no pass type of classes you might have taken at a community college or high school, the cap is increased, just like on the slide, and they are not taken as much into account at I think I'm going to say for UCR specifically, because that's, you know, my home campus. And yes, and there are also different restrictions about not the admission process, but like, you know, living on campus as well as going to campus, you know, increased COVID testing and, you know, different stations and different online training programs that you have to go through before you're admitted to going on campus as well, to beef up the kind of protections for the students.
And then there was a question about what's the average class size? So we actually have a 21-to-1 faculty to student ratio, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll just have 21 students in a class and just one faculty. A lot of times in the larger classes, maybe like an English class or a writing class or something that's like a general ed requirement, you'll have a lecture hall with a good amount of students, maybe 100 or more, and you'll have a professor. But with those lecture classes, you will also have a discussion class. So they break the 300 people that are in class into little sections where they have their own teacher assistants. And those are going to be the people who you're talking to, probably where you're forming study groups and getting kind of the information you need besides just the lecture. So you'll have a lecture section and you'll also have a discussion session. So even if you have a very large class size, you'll end up with a smaller class size with your discussion/lab if it's a science. Also in upper divs, those tend to be a little bit smaller because once you get up there, not everybody's taking those classes. It's just based off of your major. So I would say that our class sizes are pretty good for, you know, professor to student relationships. You can go to office hours at any time. And a lot of people don't go to office hours. So if you go to office hours, you'll be able to have a lot of conversation with your professors. So don't be too intimidated if you get a lecture course. You'll have time to build those type of relationships.
I have another question. What is the path for a student, say for instance, they want to go to a community college and then they transfer? What is your process for that?
All right, well, Michael's pulling it up right now.
Yeah, we have, so me and Katrina are transfer students, so we definitely have the go-to about that. I can start off. UCR has a 2-to-1 ratio of freshman admits to transfer admits. That means that, they're really committed to making sure that it's a balance of taking transfers from California community colleges. And just like the previous presenter was talking about, the transfer admission planner and the transfer admission guarantee and the transfer admission pathways are really important to say trying to transfer to a UC system. So you would do your 90, is it? Yeah, 90 transfer credits. I have it right here. Yeah. Minimum transfer credits. Quarter credits, yeah. And a 2.8 GPA, that's the minimum GPA. And so if you wanted to facilitate the requirements to meet TAG, which is the transfer admission guarantee, you would have to get above that, which is like a 3.0. And just like the presenter said, it is almost like an honor system because it is more competitive for each college in the UC system, but also specifically in each major and school. So there's schools like the School of Chas, the schools of CNAS, or Bourne's College of Engineering, and in those they have different kinds of requirements if you wanted to get your transfer admission guarantee. But other than that, if you wanted to just say go in the traditional way, you would still try to make yourself as competitive as possible with the GPA, because a minimum GPA, that's just meeting the minimum requirements. But as how life is kind of like, putting your best foot forward in a lot of different spaces. So if you wanted to separate yourself, from your high school GPA and go to community college and then beef up your GPA, that's definitely an alternative option. And one more thing I wanted to show. Okay, so transfer admission pathways and requirements and selection are kind of tied in hand, in that for your specific major, you would want to make sure that you're meeting the course load, not the course load requirements, but the course requirements. Each major has different prerequisites, I would say. That's the easiest way to put it, but prerequisites at the community college. So you would want to make sure that along the way, you would be checking which college you wanted to get into and which classes will allow you to transfer into that college. And that can be, you can do that through assist.org, or you can do that through the transfer admission planner. It's different from the previous presenter. It's the transfer admission planner. It's definitely tied into the tag, and through that you would be you'd make sure that you're meeting the requirements and you're on task to graduate. It's just like going to your community college counselor, your high school counselor, and learning about which classes to take. But instead, you would be putting all the classes and plugging them in and making sure you're available to stay on track to transfer, because it definitely matters.
And what about the cost for tuition and financial aid? Are there scholarships available, and what are the deadlines?
Yes, so at the UC, we actually have something called the Blue and Gold Scholarship. And so that is if your family makes less than $80,000 a year, you are qualified for free tuition. So they'll pay your tuition and you don't have to worry about that aspect of your pay. We also, if your family makes more than $80,000 a year, we also have a middle class scholarship. So we have those, and when you enter into the application, you'll be able to put down all your financial information, and also when you're entering your FAFSA, that is going to help us determine whether or not you qualify for the Blue and Gold Scholarship. Also, once you get on campus, you'll be able to apply for a lot of different scholarships that are on campus, and as well as just, those different grants and things that you can do. But the main scholarship for UC Riverside is the Blue and Gold Scholarship. But as a recommendation, if you're a high school student right now, we highly recommend that you start looking into scholarships. You start writing to local businesses. You'd be surprised at how many people who at local businesses want to get a tax write-off. So if you write to a local business, say, hey, I kind of want to go to college and I need some money, but in a really nice way, you could get some money out of that. Look up all your scholarships, go on FastWeb, Unigo, all those different places, even if they give you spam mail. Some of them are not spam mail. So go ahead and apply to those types of scholarships. And then Michael pulled up like the living on campus, like how much you'll have to pay. And this is just like the average for the UC. And I'll talk a little bit about, like, besides tuition, you also have to pay for housing. And housing can range from pretty high to low. Me, personally, I lived off campus, and that was relatively low. I had my own room and my own bathroom and different things like that, that you don't necessarily get on campus, but on campus, you'll get your own food vouchers. You'll be able to go to like a dining hall if you can't cook. And that's just depending on what style you want to live in. And when we have these prices, Michael, do you think you could pull up like the actual breakdown of the prices? These are overly estimated prices. So let's see. These are overly estimated prices. So you won't really have to use all that money for these. So when you see the room and board and it says 17,000 for residence hall, that's overly estimated. If you see the campus apartments, 11,000, that's overly estimated. A lot of these things have options that aren't necessarily the most expensive. So this is just be prepared that you possibly could pay this much, but not necessarily have to pay that much.
I actually have a question. So is it smarter to like save your financial aid for like universities or UCs instead of like wasting it pretty much all on community college? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, for me, actually, like there's like two separate things, really and truly. So for me, at community college, I qualified for the BOG fee waiver. So I didn't have to pay for my tuition. I just had to pay for books, and half my books I found online in PDF or used in a store. So it's separate things. I saved a lot of money by going to community college. You get totally different financial aid for the UC system, really. It's not, if you get financial aid for your community college, it's not going to take away from your UC experience. It's just going to pay for your time at your community college. If that helps.
My bad. So some of it does, like the BOG doesn't transfer from, the community college to there, but if you're getting like the Pell Grant and like, you're getting your whole financial aid, your whole tuition paid for, it does if you stay too long at a community college, or it starts to interfere if, say, so I'm a third year right now at a UCR, and that's totally by choice. But it's like if I try to stay further, it might interfere. But community college is still a cheaper alternative, because I think it's like over 5 years. If you try to spend over 5 years, not in all, but over 5 years of aid, then you start to get into where you might have to start taking out more loans for yourself.
Also, I have one thing to add to that. So if you're in high school right now, you can start taking classes at the community college for free. And if you know what you want to major in, you can take some of your general education classes if you don't know what you want to major in. Also, if you go straight into attending a Cal State UCR private school, you can still take classes at the community college over the summer or a winter session, or even after your classes at your regular institution, and you can transfer those courses over. So there are a lot of options, even if you do go to a 4-year, to still take classes at the community college. The total number of units you can use with your Pell Grant is 150 units. They start counting while in community college. So 150 units, that's a lot of classes. So you have time still.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. Thank you guys so much. I like the trio going on.